Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try one more time. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Carrie Gunter Seymour, and I am the Poet Laureate of Ohio, which means for a lot of you, I'm your Poet Laureate. I am a rather short woman with white hair. This evening, I'm wearing a blue dress that has a pattern across it, and I wear glasses. And I'm here this evening to share a poem. And where I'm from, it's not a gathering unless there's some kind of a blessing. When there's a bunch of people around, how about all of you? Especially if there's food, right? Then there's a blessing. And sometimes that blessing goes on and on, and your tummy is growling. This is one of those kind of poems. And this is called When Aunt Fanny Says the Blessing, We Know Dinner Will Have to Wait. Bless the grandeur of this day, the ground embroidered beneath our feet, bumblebee dandelions throwing wide their sun-soaked faces, the red buds loosing purple pearls. Bless Cousin Frida, who feeds us, apron dusted in flour and sass, room for all at her table. Bless the guests, the word weavers and musicians, carpenters and miners, farmers, and yes, bless the amber waves of grain. Bless the refugees and asylum seekers, the holy rollers and agnostics. Bless the truckers and teachers, searchers and preachers, the envelope stuffers, the ones who dig the graves. Bless the school bus drivers, the subway riders, bicyclers and doggers, tongue wagglers and soothsayers. Bless the scientists and nurses, tech nerds and birders, the elders who still snail mail their notes pinned in careful cursive. Bless every they, them, he, him, zer, it, its, she, her, zim, zim, rural, the inner city, the thick-skinned, the thinner, the bronzed and pale, the tattooed and painted, those anxious to speak, those afraid. Bless the pulse takers, the bush shakers, the stargazers, the I feel your painers. Listen, Whippoorwill reminds us pain is truth and grace is strength. Let these words open us, reveal the worth of all our bones. Can I get an amen? Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to welcome Representative Jay Edwards.
Good evening. I drew the short end of the stick that I have to follow Carrie here tonight, but it's my pleasure to be here. I'm Jay Edwards, the state representative for the 94th House District, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to the historic Stuart's Opera House in my hometown of Nelsonville, Ohio. Whether you've traveled a long distance or a short way to join or are joining us online, we're delighted that you've chosen to be with us tonight right here in the heart of Appalachia. I have sandy brown hair and I'm wearing a blue jacket. And we're gathered here at the Town Hall on the Arts with leaders from the National Council on the Arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Ohio Arts Council. We have special guests on our panel, and truly everyone joining us today we want to welcome. I'm especially proud to welcome our colleagues at the national level to discuss and to experience the power and the impact of the arts in the rural communities. As we begin, I want to acknowledge the commitment by our state elected officials. I know I'm giving myself kudos by kind of saying that, to make that are making transformational investments in Appalachia. Investments which include and prioritize the arts and culture. I want to thank Governor Mike DeWine, Lieutenant Governor John Husted, and the Ohio General Assembly for bringing this vision to life. Together, we have committed to invest in Southeast Ohio over the long haul. A total of $500 million was recently awarded and dedicated to 32 counties throughout Ohio's Appalachian Community Grant Program. This program, and again, this is $500 million, represents a historic opportunity for Appalachia, truly a one of a kind. Absolutely. The well-planned and collaborative projects supported by these funds will restore historic downtowns like we see right here on the public square in Nelsonville, will improve community health, and will rebuild local workforce. I want to repeat, we are committed to encouraging prosperity in southeastern Ohio over the long haul. As evidence, just last week, the DeWine administration announced an additional investment of nearly $89 million through the Appalachian Community Innovation Center program to help a dozen school districts renovate, expand, or construct new school-based community wellness, education, and career development centers. Our approach is comprehensive and mindful of how we can improve the well-being and the lives of young people, giving them the tools they need to be innovative, creative, and fully engaged in learning. And I also want to take a minute, it's not in my speech, but just last night at midnight, in Columbus, the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate just finished up our biennial budget. We typically have about 150 to 175 million dollars in community projects. This year we had $867 million in community projects, and $14.6 million are coming right here into Ohio's 94th district, right here where we're standing right now. So we're very proud about that. It's by far the most we've ever received, and that bill is going to be signed by the governor tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we'll have a lot of very happy people here in Southeast Ohio that will be receiving those grants. Um, and I have to say, the arts are are integral to many of these projects because they are simply vital across the board. The arts make towns vibrant and welcoming. The arts enhance our quality of life and our health and educational outcomes. The arts equip workers with creative skills that help people compete in today's economy, and they attract and retain the workforce we need in Ohio. Looking at the big picture, the arts impact economic development in a huge and measurable way. Tonight, as we think about the power of centrality of the arts in our lives, I have the honor of introducing NEA Chair Maria Rosario Jackson. For more than 24 years, Dr. Jackson has focused on understanding and elevating arts, culture, and and design as critical elements of healthy communities. After confirmation by the United States Senate, she became the 13th chair of the National Endowment for the Arts in January of 2022. With this historic appointment, Dr. Jackson is the first African American and the first Mexican American woman to serve as the chair of the NEA. She has a long career in strategic planning, policy research, and evaluation with philanthropic and government and nonprofit organizations. She has served as an advisor on philanthropic programs and investments at national, regional, and local foundations. Please join me in welcoming NEA Chair Dr. Maria Rosario Jackson.
You. Thank you, Representative Edwards, and thank you to our hosts here at Stuart's Opera House and the Ohio Arts Council. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I like call and response. Uh, for accessibility purposes, again, I'm Maria Rosario Jackson. I have dark curly hair. I'm wearing black, and I have round glasses on. I'm delighted to join you here today in Nelsonville for this town hall. We're so excited to be in Ohio, a state with diverse communities, including large cities, small towns, rural places, all of which present exceptional opportunities for arts and cultural experiences. Our visit this week provides a special opportunity to highlight the importance of arts in rural places. And we're fortunate to be able to connect with local leaders in Appalachian, Ohio, who've been doing transformational work. Today, I visited Passion Works Studio, and yes, and also Mount Zion Black Cultural Center. They indeed deserve applause. I saw firsthand how organizations in Southeast Ohio are relying on arts, culture, and design to honor really deep and rich local histories, revitalize local economies, create jobs, strengthen our social fabric, and create a true sense of connection and belonging. These experiences and the work that these organizations and organizations like them are doing, I think tangibly reinforce a long held belief of mine, and that is that none of the things that we say we aspire to as a nation of opportunity and justice are possible without the intentional integration of arts, culture, and design into all facets of our lives and the systems we rely on to care for each other. And the organizations and work that we witness today, I think, is such a stellar example of what so many communities around the country need, this deep understanding that the arts lift up our humanity, allow us to deliver the gifts that we have to the world, and allow us to care for each other. The NEA supports arts ecosystems and access to arts engagement opportunities in rural communities and small towns through a number of grant programs and initiatives. And these include the Citizens Institute on Rural Design, which is an initiative that helps communities leverage local and regional assets to solve local challenges and seize important opportunities through design. Shakespeare in American Communities is a program that enables theater companies to travel and present works in middle schools, high schools, and juvenile justice facilities throughout the U.S. And we're proud to support rural communities through these and other programs. I'm looking forward to learning more about the work underway here and how we can better serve. And I'm now really excited to welcome to the stage Ohio Arts Council Executive Director Donna Collins, who'll serve as our moderator for tonight, and our panelists, artist and community leader Brandon Thompson, Melissa Wales, Executive Director of Stuart's Opera House, and Representative Jay Edwards. Looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
How is everyone? I'm happy to be on the stage of Stewart's. Usually I'm in the audience, so this is fun. Good evening. I'm Donna Collins, as the chair said, and I have the privilege of moderating the conversation this evening for accessibility purposes. I am a woman. I have reddish blonde hair. It's not natural. Wearing a blue dress. So it's a privilege to be here. And you all have heard from Representative Edwards and the good news out of Columbus, and Chair Jackson, the good news out of Washington, D.C., with their opening remarks. But I would love Melissa and Brandon to take a moment for you to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about you and whatever you want the audience to know. Melissa, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Wales, and I am a light-skinned woman with shoulder-length blonde hair and glasses that are either here or here, depending on the situation. I just want to extend a welcome to Stewart's Opera House. I'd like to acknowledge that our 145-year-old theater sits on the traditional homelands of the Shawnee, Adena, and Hopewell peoples, and we strive to create a welcoming and inclusive place for all. We're coming to you tonight from Nelsonville, Ohio, which is about 60 miles from Columbus, in the heart of Appalachia, Ohio. And we're about 10 miles up 33 from Athens and Ohio University. And I like to always remind people that Nelsonville, back in the day, was the economic driver with a booming coal and clay extraction industry. Canal Street, which you all came up on, was actually a canal. It was hauling coal and traveling theater troops through the canal system. Those industries declined quite dramatically in the early 20th century, and the Opera House actually closed for over 50 years. As you see, we're back better than ever. Our proximity to the Wayne National Forest and the Hocking Hills regions make recreational tourism an opportunity for economic growth here. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you to Chair Jackson, Representative Edwards, and Donna Collins, the Ohio Arts Council, and my colleague and friend, Brandon.
Thanks, Melissa. I'm Brandon Thompson. I'm a tall black man with a large, beautiful afro and beard, wearing a floral shirt. I was born here in Athens, Ohio, just down the road. I spent 44 years of my life here with a small stint in Portland, Maine. I'm a father of two amazing kids, Parker and Landon, and a partner to an amazing woman named Katie. I wear a few different hats here in the area. Some people know me as exec director of Ohio Brew Week, the first week-long craft brew festival in the nation, which is coming up next month. Also, some people know me as DJ B-Funk, a party rocker. Yes, thank you. I'm also the coordinator for the Athens Halloween Block Party, which includes the world famous Halloween for the, Honey for the Heart Parade. Also co-creator of the Heroes in Color film series that ran at the Athena Cinema this past February. It's a series that focused on showcasing people of color. We're going to be doing that again next year. And then during the day when I'm not doing all that stuff, I work at the Survivor Advocacy Outreach Program. So I do a lot of trainings as the training and education coordinator. I get to go into the schools and work with law enforcement, working on mostly healthy relationships, consent, and things like that. So needless to say, I work with a lot of people in a lot of different places. Growing up here, I've seen a lot of different things happen. I love this place. I'm raising my family here. I know a lot of people here want to change things, but also keep things the same. I'm excited to work with people who want to move us forward. I think there's a lot of energy in this area. A lot of times we get neglected. Growing up here, I've seen, with my job, I work in 5 different counties, one of them being Athens, but also Morgan, Perry, Vinton, and uh, uh, Morgan, excuse me, I missed that one. But yeah, just really excited to be part of this panel because I think This area just gets neglected so much, and so be on this national stage with all of you and those on the internet and whatnot is just really exciting for you to show up and hear this because I think people think of this area in a certain way, and a lot of people wouldn't think that I'm born here, but I am, and I love this area, and there's so many other people like this that want to tell these stories and change the narrative. So I'm just really excited to be part of this because there could be any number of people be up here, and I got selected, and I was really excited about that, and so I hope I do a good job. I've written everything down because I don't want to get it wrong. So
Thank you. It's funny how we can be in front of thousands of people, right, and talk on a regular basis. But when we're with our friends and colleagues in a space like this, there is a little bit of nerves. So bear with us and smile at us for those of you we can see through the bright lights. So we know we're doing a good job. Um, Thank you both for your introductions. Chair Jackson, let's set the stage. Um, our conversation this evening really is built on something that I believe happened in January. It was the National Endowment for the Arts and the White House who announced a co-hosted, first of its kind summit that recognized the profound impact that the arts have and what culture does and how they play together in shaping our lives, our communities, and our nation. I had to write it down because I've been calling it HBT, but it's really Healing, Bridging, Thriving, a summit on arts and culture in our communities. And it brought together policymakers, arts leaders, other sector leaders to Washington, D.C. for a day-long summit where we heard so many interesting conversations about arts and health, arts and economic vitality. And I really want to give you credit, Chair Jackson. I know you talk about um, the vertical and the horizontal way we connect. And I appreciate that because we try to do that in our states too. And you've modeled a way that we can have collaborations we might not have had otherwise. So, as we start our conversation this evening, I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about what you learned in Washington during that summit and how it's impacting the NEA and ultimately all of us.
Sure. Thank you for the question. And it's really an honor to be here with you all this evening. I don't want to speak before saying that to you. I'm grateful for the work that all of you are doing in advancing this idea of artful lives, which I've been talking about since I've had this particular perch. The summit that Donna referenced, I think uh, had a lot of ripple effects, and talk about the ripple effects in some ways as lessons coming out. One thing that it did, I think, was extend the public narrative about the public value of the arts. So I'm one that believes that the arts are important, period, full stop. And they're important because they are integral to the kind of society that I think we aspire to. And these things are not at odds with each other. What has been true from a policy perspective is that we've often relied on an economic impact value statement for the arts. And that has merit. It doesn't go away. It's important. We should understand that and be able to speak to it. What happened at the summit, though, I think extended that narrative and made us um, more conscious about the other kinds of benefits and contributions that the arts render in communities, whether it has to do with health and well-being or with creating a stronger social fabric, with allowing us to have a more robust civic life. The arts is, I think, Representative, you said this in your opening remarks. They help us see things in different ways. They help us understand different perspectives and hold nuance and be able to have civil conversations. And that's so much of what we're in need of right now. So this extension of the public value of the arts to include health, wellness, civic infrastructure, um, democracy itself, right, is reliant on people being able to have civil discourse and see things from different perspectives. And I think the arts help us do that. So that's one level of lesson, if you will. The other thing is, I think it requires us to think differently about how arts administrators and others need to work. Right. So you mentioned this idea of vertical and horizontal. Without getting too technical, I think about, the horizontal work as how the arts intersect with other fields like health, like community development, transportation, any number of areas of policy and practice that should be looking to the arts for partnerships and collaborations because they can't do their best work without that. And I say that as someone who's trained in urban planning. I know that if you're trying to build a community that is vibrant and vital, you can't do it without the arts. If you're looking to have a public health system that is responsive and accessible, it's important to include creativity, to think about the role that artists can play in helping us take responsibility for our health collectively and individually. And I could go on and on. So there's something about that horizontal way of working and thinking about collaborations and partnerships outside of an arts bubble that is imperative now. The idea of the vertical has to do with the systems that are, I think, evident even on this stage, right? That there's a national context, there's a state context, there's a regional context, there's local, and at their best, they are mutually reinforcing, and they're advancing the same goal of making sure that all of us have access to artful lives. And when I say artful lives, it's an elastic concept. It's not only about audience participation in consuming art, which is important. It's also about making, doing, teaching, having an active creative life. So those are some of the things that come to mind when you ask that question.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And I feel like I'm back at the summit, only the chairs were different, right? They were cozy. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. So let's build on that national conversation on the stage with our panelists this evening. And maybe we can start with that cross-sector effort. So, Melissa, in your role as the executive director here at Stewart's Opera House and as an arts and community leader, not just here, but across the state. You're known across the state. In fact, someone in the lobby today said to me, "I'm already learning things from the folks here at Stewart's." So I think that's pretty wonderful. Talk to us a bit about your collaborative cross-sector work, and I'm interested in really, for instance, the abandoned mine land economic revitalization funds. That's a mouthful, right? So, what do these federal dollars mean to a community when they're invested locally?
Thanks, Donna. I too wrote things down. I told Donna my worry in anything like this when I'm talking about Stewart's Opera House is that I'll just start rambling and telling stories and go way off script. So Donna's going to rein me in if that happens. Yeah, I mean, Stewart's Opera House is we're the cornerstone of the Nelsonville Public Square. It's our mission to be a leader in the arts, a center for public expression, and an economic partner for the region. It's a pretty ambitious mission statement, but it's actually like what we do. That mission absolutely drives our cross-sector work and our partnerships. And I think about the history of Stewart's and its closure for 50 years and the economic changes that have happened in Nelsonville and the incredible role that a Stewart's Opera House, a vibrant, active, engaged, open, institution has on this community. I moved here to Athens. I actually live, but I started the first show that Tim Peacock, he's somewhere in here, presented at the Opera House. I came and was just blown away by the asset, the incredible asset that Stewart's Opera House is for Nelsonville and the county and the region, and how lucky we are to have it. And
I think also then I began to see the ripple effects of what the arts brought to the square and the community and the county, and how it really is an economic driver. I think we also think about like our arts education as, speaking, Chair Jackson, about, health and wellness, like, having a place for kids to go and engage with the arts after school, if they're not the football players or the basketball players, is incredibly powerful. But Donna wants me to speak about AMLR. So we also produce the Nelsonville Music Festival, which is a multi-day, um, incredible experience of both local and regional, but also national and internationally acclaimed musicians and artists on multiple stages, July 26th through the 28th. It's a month away.
Tickets are available on the
Tickets are
website.
available on the website. One of the things that happened, we currently have a great venue that we build our little village for our festival. And about 2 or 3 years ago now, we learned of the AMLR grants, which I have like tattooed that acronym on my wrist. Of course, all of Athens County, this region is coal impacted, and so these federal dollars that come from the Office of Surface Mining are specific to how can we reclaim this damaged land from decades of extraction. How can we repair it and restore it and make it, revitalize it economically and culturally for the community and beyond. So it's very much in progress. We're exploring how Stewart's Opera House might implement something like that, for not only what we do, but I mean the impacts that it has, for events that you might do in your various hats, or Passion Works. Like we're really lucky in Athens, Ohio, that we have forged very long and strong and deep connections with our community partners. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that, as Brandon said, we've just sort of had to figure it out a lot of the time, because we're not, one of the three C's, or, we just have had to be resilient. And that's what I love about living in this part of the state, is the resiliency, the culture, the creativity, and the community work that is so long, deep, and rich in this region.
Well, build on that for a minute. So, when you come together with others to dream, to plan, to design, to imagine, um, to prepare grant applications, to figure out what funding streams are right for you, what's the public value? What's the added value that you get from working across sectors or with your collaborators that you've mentioned, Passion Works and others? What's that like for you personally as a professional in the arts field?
Yeah, I mean it's incredible exciting. It's exciting to me, and I think to Stewards and for all of us, to be able to have the incredible organizations and community leaders who, we may not always agree upon like exactly where we're going, but we are always, I think, able to come to the table and have conversations and sort of, connect with each other's different perspectives, different ways of looking at community challenges and opportunities, and figuring out through that synergy and that conversation how we can lift up, again, like I think, the incredible assets that we have, but also how we might tackle some of the more challenging situations that are very real for our community.
So you're finding friends, making friends, getting it all done together. I like that. That's how we work at the Ohio Arts Council too. Yeah. Brandon, I don't know you as well as I know Melissa, but as I've gotten to know you, much of your work focus really is about, at least from my vantage point, how the arts can help build healthy communities. Your experience working on multiple projects. You talked about those multiple hats. I want to see those hats with your beautiful black afro, as you shared when we started. From the week-long craft brew celebration to the Heroes of Color film series, just really creating community events and working with artists. And then, of course, your daytime job, your other daytime job. Um, Talk to us a little bit about those hats and working on multiple projects. What drives you? How do you make collaborative work successful? We're all interested in being more successful in that way. So give us some tips. And don't forget to tell us about how being an artist influences all of that.
Sure, I'll try and fit all that together in one little thing. But yeah, no, and we had a great conversation, Donna, last week. You learned a bit, and so one of the things I love music and film. Always have. Grew up here. Just there's nothing better than going to the movies and watching a film, and the images are on there, and the sound, and realizing maybe three-fourths in that maybe you're watching one of your favorite movies of all time, and with the crowd. It's just something about that. I think you can't replicate that. And so growing up in Athens, watching films and seeing different things, I didn't really see myself in that. It was hard. A black kid in Athens, Ohio, it's hard anywhere in America. There's joy and laughter. But it was hard because I was into certain things. One of the things that I love more than anything is Star Wars. Ask anybody. I love Star Wars. My kids know. We know all the characters. But in the 80s and 90s, there weren't really images of black Star Wars fans. We were out there, but you didn't see it, so I didn't feel seen. I mean, I was part of this amazing thing that's been going on for 40 plus years, but I didn't see myself, and then, also growing up in Athens, I loved all types of music. I loved electronic music. I also loved Nirvana. I also loved the Cranberries. But as a boy in 1993, who loves the song Dreams, I can't say that out loud. You don't see that. And now I know it's okay to say that, but back then there weren't images of people into that. And so I find that with art is what happens is people don't see themselves in this stuff. We love what we love. We grow up, we love what we love, whatever it is that brings you joy. But we're afraid to sometimes share that or reach out because of what society will say. It's like, I love the song Dreams. Look it up. It's amazing. I can say that 20 years later, but back then I would have said, hey, you like that song? Me too. But it didn't feel safe. And some of the work I do is, with healthy relationships and healthy communities that harms people. And so for me, what drives me is I want to break that down. I want little Brandon to be okay with saying, hey, I love Star Wars. It's cool. Like I would go to Chicago and get made fun of for loving Star Wars because that wasn't what we all did. Now we know Star Wars is global, everyone's part of it, but back then it wasn't. And so I find in this area, if we can share more of those images of who we are out there, people will who live here will know that we are actually normal. I think that's the thing I find out. A lot of times, people have an idea of who we are. It's rural Athens. It's all white, poor, and dumb. That is such BS. It's not who we are. We're resilient. We're welcoming. And we need to be able to tell our stories. And I find that if you can't be connected with the arts, because someone else is telling that story. Someone else is telling the story of Star Wars to me. This is who they were going and filming, and how can we get connected to that? And so that's what drives me. Because I have two kids. My kids are 3 and 7, and I'm living in my hometown. It's a weird experience. Not everyone gets to do that. So my teachers have retired. Some of my friends are teachers. People I've known in a certain position now taking other positions, and so I see a lot of things that have changed, but also some things that haven't. And so I'm in a position to do something about it. I started as a DJ because, they don't exist anymore, but Power 105 was our DJ. They were terrible. And I was like, I'm going to play the music. Dave Palmer's my friend and everything. I'm not, he out of turn. I've told this story, but they were older people playing music for younger people, and that didn't work. And I was like, I will figure this out, because I know I love this. I'm going to do this. And I wanted the other kids to feel seen, and they did. We played the music, and I've done that, 25 years later, and that's what I think is being authentic is really important in the art. And so I take that. And so with Brew Week, I'm like, oh, how can I collaborate? Collaborate with Passion Works, Athens Ohio Roller Derby, trying to bring more art. And, craft brew is art. Some people are like, well, is it art? Is video games art? Trying to push, yes, it is. There's creativity there. And so trying to change the narrative of what we see. Sometimes I even feel that, film is not really seen as art, this is other styles, but it is. And so being authentic about it, I think is really important because people need to see different people doing things. And I think like here, one of the things I thought I was the only person in this area that loved electronic music. I was so wrong. I mean, I've met so many people in Meigs County and stuff, and I started creating an electronic music party. And then we showed up, and then, I don't know if people in this room know, but the largest dubstep festival in the nation happens at Legend Valley, like an hour and a half from here. Like 180,000 people show up listening to this crazy, it sounds like robots fighting music, but we laugh, but 10, 20 years ago that was not going to happen in this area, but they were authentic about it. And so I think that's what really drives me, is trying to give the youth an opportunity to do what makes them, because it's hard to be young regardless, whoever you are. We all want to belong, but then to not feel like you don't belong and then not have that joy, it's just a sad thing that I don't think, especially with art, we should all be able to just enjoy whatever we want and express that and be, I think, embrace is what pushes me. I mean, I think, with that, people can agree on two things. We want to help our kids. So if you're doing something with kids to support the community, they can all get on board no matter who you are. And is it going to be fun? Is it going to be fun? Then yeah, let's get on board. Let's do it. People want to do fun things that support. And so for me, craft brew, everyone loves that, but the residuals from that allow us to invest in the community. We helped the pool when they opened up. They were short on their gates. We were able to donate money to that. People think with Ohio Brew Week, we just take all this money and it comes to me as a director and I buy stocks. It's not the way it works. We get money and then any overage goes in the community. And I think that's something we're talking about, of how can we invest in different areas and using that model to do that.
Thank you. I have a follow-up that, yeah, you can clap for him. That's fine. So I don't want to forget, though, the important work you're doing as the prevention and training coordinator. I think, can you tell us just a little bit about the survivor advocacy outreach program? And I think that's probably really hard work, life-changing work, life-saving work. Would you just give us a minute on that?
Sure. So those you don't know, I work at the Survivor Advocacy Outreach Program. It's a rape crisis center that believes everyone should live a life free of sexual violence. And so when I first started, I was the outreach coordinator. So my role was to go and basically allow people to know about our 24-hour hotline. People can call about, if they've been trafficked, human trafficked, if they've seen abuse, all types of things, whatnot. And it is a very difficult thing that I think most people believe they'll never run into. But the reality is, my job is to tell you you will. The statistics are 1 in 2, 1 in 4. I mean, half of this room has probably experienced some type of sexual violence. And so, it has allowed me to go into spaces in a way that I um, didn't expect. One of the things that I really like about it is I'm the perfect person to go and speak, because I didn't know the singer. I didn't go to school for social work. Jen Cipher, our executive director, reached out to me because of the work I was doing in some other spaces. She's like, I can teach you about this work, but I can't teach you to care about people. And I thought that was really powerful and helpful, because it is. You have to really just care about the well-being of our area. And so one of the things I do, I go into the 6th grade class. We talk about consent. We talk about the dangers of pornography. And the things that our generation have to deal with. And that's what kids are seeing all the time. And that, it's not if they will be exposed, it's when and how to protect themselves. And so it allows me to see a lot of people in a different area. And so one of the things I like about it is, they're used to seeing me as a DJ or in some other space. And so I'm bringing the same information that, others in that space do, but for some reason it's being a man is another thing. They believe what I'm saying. This guy can do this. And so one of the things I'm, really interested in is healthy and a healthy masculinity. I talked about, not being able to express that I love the cranberries as a child, and I mean, that's trauma. It's minor, but it's still trauma. And that there are so many people doing that, and that they don't even know what trauma is. And I think that's the thing that really excites me about the SAOP, is that we're able to have those conversations with people and say, what, you are experiencing trauma. Just because you weren't abused, you talking to somebody, you're experiencing trauma. You as a family member, you're experiencing trauma. And so with that, I try and basically connect different ways and going into schools. It gives me a level of credibility, I think. If you can work with a school, usually people will trust you. I found that, this guy can go into a school, he can probably, put it together a festival or something like that. And so I get a lot of joy from that, because I also am able to help, with my kids being in schools, know what school's like. There's so many times we do these cycles. I remember what high school was like. It's not like that anymore. It's very different. And so being able to be in there and see what the kids are now struggling with and succeeding with is really exciting, to kind of uplift that. Sat on the OAC, arts panels with y'all for the last 2 years, and being able to see just how you've evolved with, just the criteria they have is really exciting, and trying to bring that up from this area. We talk about, are you representing underrepresented people? And Appalachian is part of that. That used to not be a thing. And so we are a people that need to be uplifted.
I agree. That's pretty good. Thank you. So, yeah.
Well, I think you can always applause.
So when I think about arts and health after the summit, I always think of you because I think about the way the Surgeon General talked about loneliness and talked about how mental and physical health are hand in hand and how the arts are supportive of healing. And so, would you talk to us a little bit about advancing that understanding out into the world through your role in working with artists and arts organizations so we can think about the health of individuals and communities?
Sure. I think that the Surgeon General gave us some really important ideas and language to hang on to when he was talking. So a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think, the Surgeon General issued an advisory on loneliness. And it was a declaration that had to do with recognizing that people being disconnected and isolated was as harmful as chain smoking, as harmful as other diseases, physically and mentally. And part of what he shared during that summit uh, were his own reflections on how the arts are a healing force in relation to connection and isolation, but to other things as well. And there's a lot of research that's growing that is looking at, for example, the role of music in uh, patients that have dementia and Alzheimer's, the role of music in pain management. This is some work that we're involved with at the NEA with the University of California, San Francisco, Renee Fleming, and the Kennedy Center. So the Sound Health Network, we're really looking at that research and trying to connect artists with neuroscientists and advance that work. So there's that level of healing. There's healing that has to do with trauma and trauma of different scales. So there's work that we've been doing with the Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs that is looking at the role of active arts engagement in post-traumatic stress um, and other brain injuries, invisible brain injuries. And that is a body of practice and research that is also evolving. And I've been thinking a lot about the levels of healing and how there really is a spectrum of how we think about healing, whether it is the kind of trauma that you talked about, Brandon, in not being able to be your full self, and feeling that, even if it feels small, it's still something. Or someone who's been in a war theater and is coming back with really serious issues, or people who have had people in their family who are victims of gun violence. Um, we've seen a lot of that and are funding some work that is looking at healing when there's that kind of trauma. But then there's the kind of healing that has to do with just being human and every day. And as we age, as we live, part of our evolution necessarily has to have a healing component, even if it isn't the traumatic things that trigger us or that make us sit up and pay attention. There is something about life and healing and how we need to have the outlets for that. So I've been thinking about this range of ways in which we interpret the notion of healing. And I begin to ask, what happens when a society doesn't have the ability to heal? Um, so those are some of the ruminations that have uh, continued beyond that experience of hearing the Surgeon General and also hearing from Secretary Becerra, who is very supportive, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who is also very much looking to the arts in partnership and collaboration. We have a working group with HHS that is focused on arts, health, and civic infrastructure. Um, and I ask, where in many kinds of communities, including kinds of communities we're focusing on here, where is the power to heal? And As you were talking, Brandon, it made me think about, so one of my favorite writers is Toni Morrison, who's also from Ohio, but a different part of the state. And I'm going to paraphrase her, but she has often said uh, that if you don't see yourself in the literature or you don't see yourself in the books that are available, then you must write that book. And that's what I see you doing, right? So there's something about the power of being that spark. And I saw that in Passion Works today. I saw that in the women that are leading the Mount Zion Cultural Center. There is something about being able to have the agency to do the thing that's necessary through the arts. And I think we need to tend to the ecosystems that allow us to heal through the arts and that full spectrum.
Thank you so much. When I was downstairs greeting people as they were coming in, I said, "Oh, thank you for driving." A colleague drove over from Darke County, so that's 3.25 hours. Some other folks are from other far-flung counties in the state, and we appreciate everyone who's here and made the time and those who are listening. But as I think about you, I think about community in a very broad sense. And several people said to me, "Well, I wouldn't miss it. The federal government, the National Endowment for the Arts is here. We're used to seeing you, Donna, and your staff, but the NEA is here. So that's a really big deal. And so thank you.
I want to say how grateful we are to you, Donna, for being a partner in helping to organize this trip. And I know our council members who are here, please wave just so they see you. Um, speak for myself and I think for them as well. Being able to be proximate to the work that we help to support, not by ourselves, but with you and with others, that's the only way that we can do our best work. And so it really is an important part of how we need to show up. Being here is part of what we need to do our job. So thank you for collaborating with us to make that possible.
Of course.
And you have a jewel in Donna.
Oh, thank you. So when we know that when we come together, communities thrive. My team, we visit all 88 counties. We fund all 88 counties because you give us enough money to fund all 88 counties. And the governor and the full legislature, be clear about that. Um, and as the executive director, as you do, Chair Jackson, we get to see many things folks don't get to see as our staffs are working in other parts of the agency, getting work done that no one ever sees. So my team is here too, so you all can wave because people are appreciative of you giving your times. Thank you. But as I think about folks getting out around the state, some something that I have noticed over your tenure as a House member, Representative Edwards, is that I see you everywhere, both here in your hometown in Athens and in all the counties you represent, obviously, but in Columbus and in towns you don't represent, across the state, cities, small places, and of course, we know that you're a rural champion. The two of you, have that both part of who you are. So, Representative Edwards, many of us here in Nelsonville know firsthand about your support of the arts and arts education, your support for that arts funding in all 88 counties. Thank you. My question for you is, as you visit communities across your legislative district and beyond, What's an example or two that have stuck with you that help you know the investment that you're working for on behalf of the arts and your elected capacity is worth it?
Thank you very much. I was enjoying just listening. I didn't need to talk. I got to be honest. Growing up here in Nelsonville, I wasn't exposed to much arts. I wasn't, I grew up playing sports. You wouldn't want to see me dance. I always tell people if you see me dancing, cut my bar tab off. You wouldn't want to hear me sing. I played sports, and sports was my passion. But once I found that passion, and I think life is about finding that passion. When you find that passion, that passion can do a lot of great things for you. It can keep you out of trouble. It can keep you on the straight and narrow. It can keep you getting good grades. It can keep you doing all the things to follow that passion. And I still remember one of the most important days, I think, that really got me to the point of why I support the arts so much now as a legislator, coming here as a freshman legislator. Melissa had me and Donna had me. And I walked in here one day, and it probably was around my first capital budget and capital budget time. And I walked in and I saw a bunch of kids here from New Lexington High School, from Perry County. And that same passion I had growing up playing sports, I saw that same passion in their eyes. And I realized, and I think through a grant from Donna and the Ohio Arts Council, Stewart's was able to partner with New Lexington and get a bus to go over and pick those kids up and take them back home. And I mention that because we're talking about rural arts here. And we have to mention that one of the biggest problems we have here in rural Ohio is getting people from point A to point B. And from for the collaboration with the Ohio Arts Council and Stewart's of going to pick those kids up and paying for that bus, I saw the passion in their eyes, and that was happening on a weekly basis that those kids were coming here, and it really changed me. It really opened my eyes to again that passion and how much kids are finding that passion. And I think that first time I saw that has completely changed my life. Donna mentioned I travel the state a lot. I do. I used to, when I was a freshman legislator, get really mad that people around the state didn't understand us down here. And then I started taking a different approach. Maybe I need to learn more about what their lives are like. And I think in doing that, we've gotten more people to come down here and more people to explore and understand the issues such as public transit and some unique issues that are facing us here in Appalachia. And I want to bring up one other example that hasn't been talked about, and I hope it doesn't offend anyone. I don't have notes like Melissa. I kind of just ramble. But I think there is an important example that I talk to my colleagues a lot about. Some of them might not have the passion for the arts and want to do stuff for the arts. One story I always tell them that I think is an important story, and I kind of mentioned it in my opening remarks. As I'm traveling around the state, I'll have people that'll come up to me, business owners, CEOs of big companies, uh, billionaires that'll come up to me and say, "Thank you so much for funding the Stewart's Opera House," or "Thank you so much for funding that organization, that arts institution or organization or facility or capital improvement project in my area." And I'll say, "Are you into the arts?" And they'll say, "No, I'm not really that much into the arts." But when I'm trying to hire people and I'm trying to get the best and brightest people across our country to move here, it is a staple to our business. So I think the arts has a huge opportunity to start talking about the economic impact that you have. As I've traveled around the state, every employer I talk to are looking for people. If we're going to attract the best and brightest people to want to come here in Ohio or here in Appalachia, right here in Appalachia, Stewart's Opera House is a great example of bringing people in that want to come here because it is a staple in the community. So I think arts has a great story to tell, and I want to thank you.
If I could take a moment of personal privilege, you're getting the capital bill signed tomorrow, which means we'll get the directions to fill up the operating application in mid-July. Would you like to come and testify for us next February?
I would absolutely love to, and I'm going to tell one brief story. I met Donna. I don't know if you remember this, but I met Donna in the State House. The House offices are in the Rife Center, and you have to walk under High Street to get to the State House, and there's a tunnel. And in that tunnel, there are 99 House of members of the House of Representatives. There is a picture from everyone's district in there that the Ohio Arts Council puts on every year. And I was a freshman lawmaker, and I get this email one day, and it's from the Ohio Arts Council, and it's inviting me to come up to the theater in the Rife Center we're going to honor all 99 of the students that were selected to display their art in the hallway. And I'm kind of singing my own praises by telling this story, but it's a true story. It was a Sunday. I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday, and not very many legislators are in town on the weekend. And I just assumed everyone was going to show up, and I showed up, and I was the only legislator to show up that day. And I handed out all 99 of those accommodations all over the state. So Donna doesn't have a choice but to love me as much as
That is a great story. I had forgotten that, but you shook every kid's hand. That's right. And those certificates you handed out are hanging on, in bedrooms or college bedrooms. And we just installed Kat Sheridan and her team at the Rife Gallery, the Arts Council's gallery, just installed a brand new exhibition this week, maybe last Friday. So see your new pieces there.
already saw it.
Oh, perfect. If you need to contact them, if you haven't already, we'll give you their name.
I don't remember the name, but it's a federal hawking kid that got their art displayed this year. So we'll be doing that program again soon. So
That's right. I love it. I love that. I was a little worried to ask you that question because I thought, oh, he has a lot of stories. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, you talked about arts education. That's a favorite thing for me. Melissa, I can't come to Stewart's and not talk about arts education. Devin and Adam are in the house, my favorite arts ed folks here. They run a full program of summer camps, programs here at the Opera House during the school year, programs in schools during the academic year. How does supporting arts education in your rural community impact students, their families, and their teachers, but also all of you?
Yeah, thanks. Stewart's, as I mentioned, was closed for over 5 decades, and that's a long time for, an anchor organization to be disconnected from the community. And so I think it was always in the sort of DNA of the people who were working to get this back open and engage with the community that um, a way to re-engage is sometimes to start with the kids. And so if we can offer accessible um, arts education, get the kids in this building, get them reconnected, then the parents will follow, the grandparents will follow. Um, and it's true. The other thing that happened, and Emily Prince also deserves a shout out as sort of yeah, um, sort of the founding mother of the arts education program at Stewart's Opera House. Is when I started working here, we were just finishing a capital campaign where one of the incredible things that came out of that was a dedicated third floor education center. So, before they were sort of, finding nooks and crannies in the opera house, in the theater, in the basement, wherever, to have arts education. But the capital campaign and that dedicated space, what an incredible resource. If as an arts and theater kid, I would have died and gone to heaven if I would have had a Stewart's Opera House to come and the pride, the pride that they have in experiencing um, top top line education programming. We are in the midst of our second week of summer camp, which is a music focus, and we have over 40 kids. And again, we've outgrown our third floor education center. We have a drum kit behind the screen here, and it's incredible to be in this space and have kids everywhere engaged and excited and creative and noisy and just really having such an incredible resource and opportunity. The other thing I really love about our approach to arts education in our community is that it's very much about partnering and listening. It's not a here's what we think you need. It's a tell us what you need. And sometimes my favorite story when I started working here, which I did not know, was that, folks on staff had gone to Nelsonville, York, our local public school district, and said, tell us what you need. And they said, well, we need a middle school art teacher because it's not in the budget. And the staff sort of, okay, went back, figured it out, and for many years was paying the salary of that public middle school art teacher, which I think is an incredible. And the Cinderella ending is that the school immediately felt the impacts of having that in their systems, as far as all the things we've talked about how the arts impacts mental health and academic skills and engagement. They built it back into the budget. So yeah, right? It's an incredible story. Currently, we are underwriting the Nelsonville York Drama Club. So we pay the instructors. They do their rehearsals here. They do their annual production on our stage, which is again such an incredible asset. We want this stage, this theater. It has such a long and storied history of incredible performances, but also community events. And I think that sort of part of our mission as a space for public expression. Because I think, again, the closure, nobody was really sure what an opera house was and do I belong there? And I think our arts education program has been critical in letting our community know that, yes, you belong here.
Thank you so much. That's why I love arts ed, right? Chair Jackson, I've been asking lots of questions. I need a break. How about we turn it over to you, and maybe you have a question or two for Representative Edwards or Brandon or Melissa, if you'd like.
I think it's more I guess it's a question. It's an observation and a question. One of the things that has been impressive in the visit here is the way that there is strong, earnest, passionate leadership here um, that has a point of view and wants to create opportunities and expressions that are specific and organic to this region in a very legitimate way. There's there is a there is an identity, a sensibility, an aesthetic that is Appalachian Ohio, and it deserves to be expressed and appreciated. And I think if one believes that, then what is necessary to make sure that the resources, and I mean that financially, but not only financially, that the resources to have those kinds of assets on your own terms, how do we ensure that that is available? What does it take? And I think everyone on this stage plays a role in that. But any thoughts that you have as you forecast building that ecosystem that supports that? What does it require?
So looking at me, I guess I'll start. Um, I think for me, the way I see it is I'm in a lot of spaces where we're trying to create things, and I usually always say this like so many times I'm given a decision that's supposed to help me. It's like, hey, you want to do this or do that? And I'm like, it feels like, you're asking me where I want to go on this trip, but I didn't even tell you I want to go anywhere, because people have told you it's like, you've already built the train and decided all these things. And like, I don't want to go anywhere. And that happens because we're not there. And so one of my other roles is am outgoing president of the Visitors Bureau. And so for the last 6 years, we have to craft the narrative of Athens County, and so most people know us for, Nelson Music festivals, craft beer, outdoors, and bikes. That's great. That's not everything. My parents don't do any of that stuff, and they live here, and so trying to push that out there. And I think, we've really done a lot of stuff with the heritage, tours and things like that, the mine disaster and other things that happen in some of our smaller communities. And people know about those things, but how do we get that to a level where, Representative Edwards and people at that level and yourself, are also seeing it more often because we can be aware of things, but life requires us to hold a lot of things, and so we take what's easy. We see what it is. Oh, I've seen that. That's, I've been in Nelsonville at Stuart's Opera House. Well, that's not all Nelsonville, like there's other things here. And so how do we change, I think, the information there, so when those decisions are being made, they do feel uh equitable in some way. I think that's the biggest thing. And I know we're seeing strides to do that, but just keeping that in mind, because I think people really do see this area as just this, poor and weak. And, like you were talking, so many of us are resilient because we've just had to be. It's like, you know what, this doesn't exist. I'm going to go make it. I'm going to go do this. Representative was talking about, no one knows this area. I'm going to tell them. And I'm going to go and learn about them. So when I tell the story, it feels authentic, and I think that's a really important thing. So it's not just, I'm telling you what is, I've actually done the research. But I really think that's a really important thing of, what do these decisions look like when they're made? Because it's so many times this is great for you. We've decided this is what you need. And it's probably good, but it's not the best, and we only get so many shots. And so how can we also down here share that in a way that feels constructive? Because a lot of times it's like, this is not what we want. Oh, well, they don't care. We're not going to do anything for them. And that's not really what it is. It's more, hey, we would have loved if you had talked to us, we would have made this go even further. But sometimes that's seen as an affront or something. I just think that's a really important thing that I'm seeing more of in the arts, where we're allowing not just the administrators, but the people who are doing the work to come up and say, this is what we want.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Appalachia, Ohio is one of those places that people think needs rescuing. And we don't need rescuing. We need to be listened to, because we already have an incredible entrepreneurial spirit and examples of, we know how to take care of things and do things with whatever resources we have, and it's never enough. It's never enough. And so I think, from that perspective, what I love about tonight is that, we're sitting here with this sort of the vertical access, right, of um, people who can listen to us and also help us address some of the capacity issues that we already know about. And we have no shortage of ideas and aspirations, and we've already built the relationships and the partnerships. And if Appalachia, Ohio is listened to, if Athens County is listened to, and there's a mix of voices, and it's a diversity of ideas and visions about where we need to go, I think it will be incredibly exciting to see where we end up.
Yeah, they basically took my answers. My job is easy. It's just getting more money to things. But no, it's extremely important. I think we just have to integrate into the arts. One of the things I just wanted to touch upon, we all know we just got through a pandemic. We all know kind of the epidemic of our lifetimes, our mental health crisis that we have across the country here in Ohio, and especially here in Appalachia. One thing, very important thing, and I'm not sure, Dr. Jackson, I know Donna, you're aware of this, that we were able to do last year in our state operating budget is we were able to license music and art therapy. Absolutely. And I think it's such an important step. Number one, it's the first step of making sure people can actually, get a fee for that service that they're providing. But it also is another tool in the tool belt as we're facing this mental health crisis, to allow art and music therapy to be a part of that solution. I think the more we can try to find ways to integrate art and therapy into our natural society, I think it's a step in the right direction. So thank you.
Hey, they've given us some marching orders, right? We like it. So I guess our time is really coming to an end. In fact, I think we're probably over the stated time. But please thank me and join me in thanking. Okay, thank you. Um, Please join me in thanking Chair Jackson, Representative Edwards, Melissa Wales, and Brandon Thompson for their participation in a conversation here tonight that I hope will help all of us have more conversation when we return home. Thank you all so much. I do want to challenge each of you really to have these conversations about how we bridge, collaborate, innovate, and thrive in our communities. It can happen at your kitchen table this week. It can happen at the office or the coffee shop, or downstairs when you're leaving. And for folks who are listening or watching by live stream, have that conversation, text somebody, start the conversation. So as we close, I want to remind you that tomorrow, Friday, June 28th, we'll be having the summer. Well, we won't be having. Dr. Jackson will be having the summer meeting of the National Council on the Arts. You can join us at the fabulous Lincoln Theater in Columbus, Ohio, or online by finding information at arts.gov. And I want to thank the staff at Stewart's, the staff of the NEA, and my team at the Arts Council for helping us to provide this conversation. But most of all, those folks streaming in, listening to the stream, and for all of you in this audience who drove far or near to be with us. It makes a real difference, and we appreciate all of you. And good night.